What a great night. Good evening, Tom Ace. You smell
Good
terrific.
evening.
So it's a nice cold rainy night in February.
Oh, it is a gross day out today. I mean, I just walked down the street briefly today and I'm like, whoa. It's just like the wind was relenting. It wasn't even raining that much, but I was just getting slapped in the face.
I was really I took Aurora out for breakfast this morning because she had a field trip that was canceled because of course it was going to be outside at a maple sugar farm somewhere in Connecticut. And so we went, that was my only time outside. It was just inside, did a lot of work. Man, you're going to love to see some of the stuff that I did today, just with the archiving and moving things around. So much material. I can't believe it. It's really great. But tonight we're going to create some more. Welcome to the 8th episode of the Playhouse.
Yes.
Co-hosted by me and Anthony.
It's me.
And we got, in a couple of minutes, we're going to have a call from Mary.
So who is Mary?
Mary is a friend of the show, friend of Quite Frankly, actually. She's been around for a while as a supporter and all that. But when this news about Kurt Cobain broke, I mean, you say, who is it news to? Like, what do people assume? And it's not even just assumptions. It's just a lot more mainstream that there is yet another, after all these years, after all these decades, how many times is somebody going to try to get the Kurt Cobain death relitigated, reinvestigated, and treated like a homicide? And apparently she's the caller that we're going to spend a little time with in a few minutes. She is part of that renewed effort out there in Seattle to get this reopened. But here's where it is right now. First of all, do you know it's Kurt Cobain's birthday?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, February 20th, 1967.
Wow. Well, that's what I want to, by the end of this show, I want to completely understand why all this made news and exactly what it is.
We're going to ask,
because that's everything. The thing. Because, obviously this isn't like law enforcement reopening this up. This is obviously something that's like people trying to get it reopened, right?
And there's been several honest documentaries made. There has been so many interviews, and it makes you wonder why. Now, Occam's razor, the most obvious answer that people have given me over the years and have also published over the years is that just like anything else, when it comes to doctors and police officers, whatever the hell it is, there's a lot of pride that's involved. And perhaps they just wanted to stick with the suicide determination at all costs to avoid embarrassment or something like that, which I don't understand. But here's where we're at right now. Hold on. Put it up on screen. There you go. Let me get you on screen as well. Hold on. Boom. Boom. Ding. Kurt Cobain's death could be murder. Former Seattle police captain agrees. This is News Nation.
Oh, this is new, right?
Yeah. This is new. This is from 2 days ago. Let me see here. Former Seattle police captain agrees with the conclusions of a private forensics team that recently suggested Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain was murdered more than 30 years ago. The independent researchers who reviewed police documents and Cobain's autopsy report raised questions about the high level of heroin in his system and blood splatter evidence, among several issues. Their conclusions: someone else may have injected heroin into Cobain to incapacitate him before delivering a shotgun blast to his head. Even with the widely publicized review, Seattle police say they have no plans to re-examine the long-held official ruling that Cobain died by suicide.
Right.
Here's a quote. "I think that's the old party line. We're just going to stick with what we've got," former Seattle Police Department Captain Neil Lowe told Jesse Weber Live on Wednesday. Quote, and as where I got the highlight from, "I think they're just afraid it's going to look bad for them." And that has been brought up so many times over the years. And like I said, whether it's law enforcement or whether it is some form of, medical malpractice, it's like, how can we be?
Well, think about it. If that actually ended up being true, what would that would just be like mind blowing. Yeah, that'd be earth shattering.
Yeah, it would be.
You know,
it would be. I mean, but to what degree? In what way would it be mind blowing for you though? Because to me, just the simple fact that you assess a crime scene, you got it wrong, even in the face of what other people might consider obvious pieces of evidence that suggest something other than self harm.
I guess what for me it would just be like, wow, this conspiracy actually ended up being true. It'd be like, wow, look at that. Like if it became like a thing where it was actually the record was changed, and it really was like, oh, after all of this research, he was murdered, and that just became like a factual, knowledgeable thing to the public. That would just be you don't see that happen too often.
No,
like it's like we all have we suspect things like this about things, and we've got theories, and some of them are not just theories, they're just like pretty common sense. But until it's set in stone, there's always that could be not true.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's not
could be true, could go one way or the other. But the minute that if this were to ever be flipped, it's like everyone's reality's flipped. The past 30 years, how many years?
Yeah, 30.
The past 30 years have just been a lie. I mean, and that's a big part of, I mean, it's terrible, but it is. It's a big part of his legacy and his identity. Unfortunately, the way he died was a massive part of his story. And to kind of that just being flipped is that would just be, what it would be? It'd be like this existential like crisis for some people, and it would also you'd also ask the questions, what else?
Well, if you take think of the scenario of, okay, after all these years, everybody thought he died of a heroin overdose or something like that, and then you realize that after all those years, it wasn't an overdose, or it wasn't something like that. It was more so like carbon monoxide poisoning. That could be like a double take, like, oh, wow, or like how I assumed that the a couple of blocks over when there was that murder, back in 2011 or whenever the hell it was, we just assumed it was the daughter of the person that, and then you find out it wasn't. This is totally different, because if you go from suicide to homicide, it's not just bingo bango. It's like, no, who did it?
That too.
And then and there's no statute of limitations on homicide. So to reopen this, it's not just about taking one on the Seattle Police Department or whatever and having to just admit that you stuck to a story out of what? Laziness? That's what I only think is, it perceived laziness, because there can't be any payoff to this. I mean, when you talk about motive, the most obvious motives for this to be a murder that we've all long since discussed is that there is financial and estate ties between Kurt and Courtney. And if there is, if he really was going to cut her off and divorce her and all that stuff, because he was trying to, distance from her, whatever, that would have severed her rights to, all of his estate. I
think that the difference the difference would have been something like $2 million and $50 million.
I thought that his estate was $150 million.
Well, at the time.
Well, let's see. We have Mary here. I want to talk to her, and we're bringing her in right now. Mary, do you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Hey. Can you hear us?
Yep, I sure can. My kid's having a drum lesson, so
I was just gonna say. I think I hear.
Sounds like a practice.
I hear drumming.
A band practice space.
Okay, well, hopefully we can hear you with. Yeah, it's all good. I guess it's a kind of in theme. So, Mary, welcome to the show. We have you on the screen right here. You're here with me and Anthony. So I guess the first thing is, can you tell us a little bit about, because you said that you are personally involved with this latest effort to kind of, not relitigate, but reinvestigate the death of Kurt Cobain. So what can you tell us about your personal involvement?
So currently at this time, I've been reviewing this issue for many years. And whokilledkurt.org came about. And it's the baby of Michelle Wilkins and Brian Burnett, who took a forensic approach to actually looking at the case in an objective way to see what really happened to Kurt. So I got involved personally with the group for about a year now, supporting them. And right now I'm here as a surrogate to help them spread the message.
And you send this to me. This is the multidisciplinary analysis of the Kurt Cobain death. This is the aggregate work of everything over at whokilledkurt.org.
Correct. This was published officially in November of 2025. And this all really came from Leland Cobain writing to the coroner to get the official autopsy report because he was 84 years old and wanted to understand what happened to his grandson because he never believed the official story. Because that came about, Michelle was able to get access to the autopsy. I believe there are 2 pages missing from it, but with that came the full toxicology report and all of the evidence around it that we didn't have. It was all publicly not available at that time.
Wow. So Kurt Cobain's grandfather's still alive?
No, he wrote that in 2012.
Okay, I was going to say he must have been a young. Damn,
Yeah.
the audio was terrible.
So
I'm
you
here.
can see the official autopsy report now, but a lot of this peer-reviewed study was based on those findings, and they came, it comes out in I think 8 key determinations that they came up with. So.
Okay. Mary, is there any way that you can turn down the speaker because my voice is destroying the feed, like it's like feedback.
Is that better?
A little bit better. Okay. So let's just go from here. Talk about the biggest things that are brought up in this report. We're hearing a lot about toxicology being the biggest thing, that there was for many years we heard that, there was no way that he could have ever even had time to pick up a gun to harm himself after the kind of toxic load that was put into his body intravenously. What are the biggest selling points on this investigation in your eyes?
So he would have had to inject himself with 3 full syringes of heroin in order to get the equivalent amount that was actually in his system at that time, and then put the caps back on the needles, pull his sleeves back down and button them right back up, and then put his kid away. So 3 syringes full.
Okay, see,
that is an insane amount of heroin that he would have had to take.
That's huge. I see. We would hear generalized statements about that, but for you to say 3 full syringes and then to give us the details that the caps were put back on and his sleeves were rolled back down, I mean, that alone is impossible. But
it seems to me it's a bit of overkill to add the shotgun into. It's just a part of a narrative. It feels like, that was just like they wanted to make sure that, I don't know, because it just seemed like the narrative was added in before it in news articles, and even in Rome. There are people that came forward too that, knew that what happened in Rome perhaps wasn't a suicide attempt, that it was pitched that way as a narrative. So
okay, this statement from the former captain in Seattle who made statements about the investigation being botched. And the crime scene handled poorly. I mean, what can you tell us about the crime scene itself from that standpoint? What was botched on a law enforcement angle?
So they came in possibly with a preconceived notion that he was suicidal, he was a drug addict, and those things could have gone into it. But the findings in the report actually, the result was that it was a staged situation. So that was actually, it's in the journal that came out, that it looked like a staged event because the way it looked like he was dragged into position based on some blood patterning that was on the legs, and the way that he was perfectly positioned and everything around him was clean from what they saw in the report. So it almost looked like he got dragged backwards. So there's like, you could see it on the pants in some of the pictures that were released later in 2014 or 2016, I believe. They released some crime scene photos, and on there you can see that there's actually blood there on the pants, and it's kind of pooling because it looks like it was a dragging that they put him through. So
okay, and you got anything on there?
So do you think then that the police probably just they just didn't even bother really going into depth with it. They just saw like, okay, gun looks enough like a suicide. It's a suicide, and that's it.
Well, they had been to the house too. The Seattle PD had been to the house a couple times, I believe, over domestic issues that were happening. And, it was claimed that he's suicidal, he has a gun, he's going to hurt himself. And I mean, maybe it's the same police officers coming, maybe it's not. But it seemed like they might have had a preconceived notion it's just another drug addict in Seattle, not worth, our time. So I think that there was a lot of the assumption that might have gone into it.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is purely speculative here. But that you think that is really the only resistance there is to somebody not wanting to reopen the books on this and look at it from a homicide standpoint? And like Anthony and I were just talking about it when the show opened up. But it's not just to say that. I don't know if you were listening, not just to say that there was an accident in the home that happened over here and by this method, and then after 30 years you realize it was something else that happened, like carbon monoxide poisoning or something like that. If it is a homicide, it's not only the law enforcement out in Seattle have to take it on the chin and have their pride hurt, but then you have to go out and find who did it. And so that's the next thing there. Do you guys have any? Does your work as private investigators go beyond just the examination of the evidence at the crime scene? Do you actually go into examining motive and trying to come up with some suspects?
I believe at this point the goal would be to have it have them look at this report objectively. One way that they could do it is to look at it and review it as a cold case and disprove the facts that are brought up in this peer-reviewed study. We've been writing to try to get them interested in even opening it back up. Even on the coroner, they had said that they're interested in doing it if they had actual evidence that would cause them to reopen it. Michelle Wilkins actually went to Seattle with the report, and they didn't even look at it. They just told her that they were not interested. So at this time, I'm encouraging people to write in to create requests that they can just look at it objectively, look at the report and disprove it. Open it as a cold case. It's the little wins, and then we'll move into looking at who did it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I totally. Because every couple of years since we were kids, somebody writes a book, somebody makes a documentary. They lay out a dynamite case as to why this is not the way that it was presented to the world, and then it's just. The powers that be are not going to do anything. So I guess the biggest thing I had is if you had any hopes now for the future of your efforts to do what past private investigations and petitions could not get done. Do you have any? Is there anything that makes this effort?
Sorry, this is the first time anybody's looked at it as thoroughly. And it's written out clear as day and have it studied and reviewed. So I do have hope because I feel like justice has to come at some time. And like the narrative never felt right. And this is the actual first time I remember reading something that proves to me 100% that there's just no way that he did that to himself. But that's my opinion.
Did you ever look into, I'm going to play a couple of things after we end the call in a few minutes. But what are your thoughts personally on all of the characters surrounding Kurt Cobain? I mean, we saw years ago that really incredible trailer park dump truck
interview with El Duce.
With El Duce, yeah.
El Duce, and then there's El Duce's interview and who's the guy's name? Wrench.
I don't
like he would always like kind of troll. People think that he was trolling, but he would basically confess to the murders a lot on video.
Wrench?
Alan Wrench was his name.
What do you think? You ever hear anything about that, Mary? I hadn't.
Alan Wrench.
Alan Wrench?
Alan Wrench?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was a publicity stunt. But Joseph Brainz was actually, he came out and gave testimony that he was there that night that it happened. So that's worth looking into as well. But have you seen any of that?
No. I have some stuff lined up after this, and I just wanted to ask you a couple of basic questions, and I'm so happy that you were able to come on with us tonight. Will you be able to just please give us updates as time goes on? Because whereas I'm sure this is going to have some kind of a shelf life in the mainstream media coverage that it's out there, but like everything else, it might just fall by the wayside, which I hope it doesn't, because this deserves some attention. But please, since you are personally involved in this, let us know if there's any big updates that is not being reported by any news outlet or another.
Yeah, I sure will. Thank you so much for your time. And then please, if anybody's interested in going whokilledkurt.org and getting involved, there's other ways people can get involved if they want. Just kind of, there's lots of content on youtube.com as well for Who Killed Kurt.
Whokilledkurt.org. Thank you, Mary, for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good one. Take care. Okay.
Okay, so can I say something here? Let me just clear me because obviously something happened. In that call there was some like noise, and for some reason it hit me in a way that I started laughing, and then I realized that this is not that I couldn't just start fucking laughing. Because I couldn't laugh, I started laugh. Like I started getting into one of those cry laugh moments. And I was just over here crying, and I was also on screen, so it looked like I was like, it looked like I was laughing at her or something, but I wasn't.
No, the whole thing was funny. First of all, wonderful information by Mary, but it was a little distracting having the call in the middle of a band practice.
No, but the thing that made me laugh was there was audio disruption. It sounded like there was like a cat or something that was clawing at the microphone or something like that. Like it sounded like something else was going on. That's actually what I pictured. I pictured like that kind of interruption of like an animal like hitting something.
Yeah, there was a little of that going on. You know what it was? Especially if you do a Zoom call or a Skype call back in the day from your phone, if you have the speaker, I mean, the phone has to be the speaker and the microphone. So sometimes if you have the audio turned up a little bit too loud, it starts bleeding into, well, so you were actually hearing the tail end of me talking, and it was registering as almost like signal disruption or something like that.
Oh, all right.
Anyway, there was. It's like, thank you, Mary. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I don't know how you kept it together, because if you kept talking, like I wouldn't have been able to do that.
I have had to find new muscles. I've had to find new muscles to condition over the years of doing this medium, because you have no clue how many times sitting in your seat over there, how many times Matt has sit there when I'm interviewing somebody and something ridiculous happens and it's a serious conversation, but he found something about the person telling a serious, he found something funny about the person telling a serious story. And I sometimes I'm fighting for my life. Sometimes I'm absolutely fighting for my life. So it's just one of those things, but this is the great thing about doing things live. You create memories that you don't really expect to be creating.
Right.
Anyway, that's what we got going on. Here's a little bit from the internet as we're going to open this up just for a couple more minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are streaming live on a couple of different accounts tonight. If you are watching on any of my, if you're watching on my personal YouTube right now, look at the pinned comment. The pinned comment has the link for the live stream that is on the Playhouse YouTube channel. Okay? You don't have to leave the site, but you just leave the channel. Hop on over around 7:30 in about 5 minutes. We're going to bounce off of here completely on my personal channel and come over to the Playhouse. You don't even have to leave YouTube. Okay? I just know that it's hard to, if we don't. We wanted to go live because people don't know when we go live. It's very easy to get compartmentalized like that. But anyway, listen to this, Ant. Again, here's more on the toxicology end of things. Reports from Kurt Cobain's autopsy indicated a blood morphine level of 1.52 milligrams per liter of blood. 5 milligrams of heroin will produce a blood morphine level of 0.035. Even healthy, heavy heroin users only use up to 40 to 60 milligrams of heroin in one hit, which would equal to 0.412 milligram blood morphine level. So to reach a blood morphine level of 1.52 milligram per liter, you're talking about an amount that would certainly have exceeded 200 milligrams of heroin that was injected into Kurt Cobain. 200 milligrams would equal 3 times the amount that would be considered lethal. We're expected to believe that Kurt Cobain is able to operate a Remington Model 11 shotgun with 3 times the lethal amount of heroin in his system. Not only that, but we are also expected to believe that he recapped the syringes he used.
That was the big thing that I didn't know. We've heard about the 4 to 3 times the legal limit of heroin. We've heard about that, but we never heard about the capping of the syringes before. I've never heard of that. I didn't know about the whole buttoning the sleeves too.
Yeah, and of course, here is the famous statements made by El Dulce, and I forgot what punk band he was the drummer of, but still, this is an old clip, and because he's not alive, I think shortly after this interview, he was found decapitated on a train tracks.
I mean that's what I read. I read that he died by train on the train tracks, intoxicated, which sounds pretty. Which is, I mean, I suppose that could happen, but that's pretty suspicious.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, here, listen to this.
But you did some deal with Courtney, right?
Yeah. She offered me 50 grand to whack Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, I was telling you this.
She what?
50 grand to whack Kurt Cobain.
What's more?
And that's a fact, is it? But people might think you're not the most reliable witness.
Well, that's too bad.
Go fuck yourself.
You may not be the reliable witness your own self.
We're just Anthony and I are laughing because we just realized he reminds us of one of our next door neighbors from years ago.
Now think about that one.
Yeah.
When she offered me money, God dang, I wish I would have taken it, man. But I know who whacked him.
But how were you going to whack him? Did she tell you how to do it?
Yeah, blow his fucking head off.
So where were you going to find him to do it?
Well, up there, and she gave, mapped it out. I mean, up there in Bellevue, wherever they live, right outside Seattle. I know right where the house is. I know right what garden to pop him in. I just didn't think she was serious.
But did she tell you how she wanted you to pop him?
Yeah, she says, blow his fucking head off. I got the shotgun.
There's more to that interview.
Yeah, there is. But just for this purposes, still, I mean, he didn't think she was serious. You think about all the other jobs he's taken in his life. If that was the only thing, I didn't think she was serious. Hell, after it seemed like after he was done, he was like, "Damn, that could have been me. I could be $50,000 richer."
Well, that is the weird thing. He said, I wish I would have taken it. That's kind of weird to say.
I know, man. I know. Listen, there are just deranged people. There's just deranged people out there.
Well, apparently he knew that guy. He was really like in the underground punk scene. He knew Gigi Allen.
Oh, they must have gotten along famously. Probably had shit smearing contests with each other.
Who knows? It's such a weird time.
Maga Lobo said he was in the Mentors.
Okay.
It was a weird time. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it is like just that whole scene. God knows who's in that scene.
Well, that's the thing. You talk about circles of friends. You talk about underground circles of any colleagues, whatever it is. There are secrets that are just like open secrets in places. whether it's in a certain line of work or, like I said, certain networks of friends and all that stuff, local, small towns, just open air secrets about the reality of things, or who did what and what was, who looked the other way on that, because I don't know. And you just wonder how the hell it is. You think about all of the we have to do a Laurel Canyon show one night. You got to read that? You got to read that book by what's his name, McGowan. Was it Mark McGowan? The Secrets of Laurel Canyon. Just all the counterculture rock bands and all of the crazy shit that was going on in California. The MK Ultra military defense sort of weird link that you can't break. These coincidences that are not coincidences. That's just insane stuff. Really insane stuff. And
what bands? What is it?
Oh, I mean, everything from the Doors to the Byrds and
okay, so this
the Mamas and the Papas.
This takes place in the 60s.
Yeah, 60s, 70s. You bring up people like Zappa and everything else, and you start looking at a lot of things quite differently. And but this is something totally different. That's what I'm saying. I wondered what this is. Okay, well, obviously you have a junkie like the wife. She has all the reason to go and do that. She seems unstable enough just to do it for a small amount of money versus some bigger thing. I don't know why. I started wondering, how big can the conspiracy be for something like that? Is there a big picture reason why the Seattle Police Department would ever want to avoid opening up this can of worms again? I really don't think so. I think it might just, at this point, it just might be a pain in the ass, and that a really bad job at working the crime scene back then just became one of those things where it's just like, well, now we got to stick to this shit because, I don't know, looks bad on us and everything else. But you look at characters like El Duce and what he's saying about the money that was offered, $50,000, even if it's 1993, 1994, it's a lot of money back then, but still, it's kind of small beans when you're talking about estates that are worth tens of millions. And Kurt Cobain was the most important part of that whole thing. Like, why wouldn't you go after everybody that's involved in that? It just feels. It makes you wonder if there's anything bigger at play. But
I wish we can get a behavioral panel. Like you ever see those videos where they kind of like they pick apart the way people speak and if they're lying and what it kind of means, kind of like body language type stuff.
Yeah,
I wish we can get someone to see what they think about El Duce's interview.
Oh, hold on, let me see.
That wasn't the only one, too. There's another one where he's in a kitchen table and he's talking about it. And it's always consistent. He never changes. The story is always exactly the same.
Let's see here. Kurt Cobain body language. El Duce names Alan Wrench. Outrageous claim. I'm seeing if there's any El Duce polygraph.
That's the other one. There's another like that one right there where he's sitting down. That's another interview. He basically tells the same thing.
Polygraph from Ian Halpern film. They did a polygraph test on him?
See, that's how I met Courtney Love. My guitar player used to go out with her drummer. Basically, I hadn't seen her, for a couple of years until she came by the rock shop that one night before New Year's Eve. Jumped out of the limo and came walking up to the door where I was standing. She goes, "Hey, Duce, I need to talk to you. It's real important." And I go, "What is it?" She goes, "My old man, Kurt, he's been a real asshole lately, and I think he's planning on dumping me." And then she goes, "Listen, I need you to blow his head off. I'll give you $50,000.
Wow.
And I go, "What? Are you serious?" She goes, "I'm serious as a heart attack." I said, "Well, I'm serious if you are." And then we had a tour come up. And I took off to go on tour, and while I was on tour, she called here looking for me and spoke to Sepp. He told her I was on the road. Apparently, right after she called looking for me, about a week later, Kurt was found dead with his head blown off.
The polygrapher I consider to be extremely reliable, extremely credible. And when I sat down with him, I said, is there any way this guy could have cheated, could have faked this polygraph, could have passed it, or failed it, or whatever, manipulated the polygraph to falsify the results? And his response to me is, no, not this guy.
I actually know the actual killer that killed Kurt Cobain. His name's Alan Ranch.
Well, ladies and
I don't know, man.
listen,
Results.
before we go any farther, for everybody that is on my personal YouTube, love you all. I just wanted to drop this into your laps because many of you probably never even knew what we do this every other Friday. Anthony and I, we co-host this show, and I just wanted to be able to tell you, hey, get a little bit more, put some notifications on and just be involved, because these are really great talks. Movies, music, personal lore, all that stuff. I just put the link in the chat room right now. The link is in the YouTube chat. Click it. You're not even leaving YouTube. You're just going to another chat room. That's it. We're cutting off over here, and perhaps I will upload the full episode next Friday when we are not on air for Quite Frankly or anything like that. So thank you so much, and we will see you guys in a little bit. Okay. Now, for everybody else, let us do